Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do the cluster stitch, which is one of my favorite patterns. It's easy to do and it's an easy 2-row repeat. You'll start by making a chain of any even number. So regardless of what kind of project you want to make, whether it's a pillow, a blanket, or something else, just make your chain as long as you want the width of your project to be, as long as it's an even number. Normally, we would work in the back loop of each chain, and you can still do that for this project. However, I like to use the back bumps of the chain just to give this a nice finished edge. We'll skip the first bump and work right into the second back bump of the chain. Insert your hook into the second back bump. I like to use my fingernail just to help get that chain on my hook. We're going to do a single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Chain 1 and skip the next chain. Work into the second back bump and do another single crochet. And chain 1. We're going to repeat that until the end of the chain. So skip 1 chain, do a single crochet into the next chain, and chain 1. Skip a chain, single crochet into the following chain, chain 1. I'm at the last chain, so I'll skip 1 chain, insert my hook into the last chain, and single crochet. Most patterns will tell you to use a turning chain when starting a new row, but we're not going to do that. To get a nice straight edge, we're going to omit the turning chain and use standing stitches. This will give us a nice even edge and we won't have that horrible gap like you see here between the first stitch and the chain. Row 2 is the start of our 2-row repeat. Turn your work, and we're going to put a standing double crochet stitch into that very first single crochet from the previous row. Insert your hook into the single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. We're going to put another single crochet right on top of the one we just did. Here are the 2 strands of yarn on the front of the post. We're going to insert our hook under the left strand only. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's our standing double crochet stitch. We're going to be working the cluster stitch in each of the chain 1 spaces from the row below. I'm going to go through the first couple of rows with you at a slower pace to help our beginning crocheters or people who are not familiar with the cluster stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over and pull up a loop, and pull it up tall so that it's the height of a regular double crochet stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, insert your hook right back into that chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Do that one more time, yarn over, insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Now you should have 4 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on the hook and chain 1. That's a cluster stitch. In this tutorial, we're making a cluster stitch by doing 3 unfinished double crochet stitches into the same space before yarning over and pulling through all 4 loops on the hook. You could also do a cluster stitch with 4 unfinished double crochet stitches, so you'll have 5 loops on your hook before you yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. By doing 4 unfinished double crochets before pulling through all the loops, it just gives you a fuller cluster stitch. And you can see that it doesn't have that gap between the standing double crochet and the first cluster stitch. We're going to do that again. We're going to skip the single crochet and work right into that chain 1 space, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, go back into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Do it again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. You should have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. We'll repeat that to the end of the row. Skip the single crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, go back into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Do it one more time. You should have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. We're at our last chain 1 space before the end of the row. So you can see we have a single crochet, a chain 1, and a single crochet. We're going to do our last cluster stitch into that chain 1 space. Once you have 4 loops on your hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, but we're not going to do a chain 1. We're going to go right into that last single crochet and do a regular double crochet. So yarn over, tilt the work towards you so that you can easily see the top 2 loops of that single crochet that you want to work under. Insert your hook underneath those 2 top loops. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That completes row 2. Row 3 is the second row of our 2-row repeat. Turn your work. We're going to do a standing single crochet stitch in that first double crochet from the previous row. Because we're not using a turning chain to get the height of the single crochet, we're just going to pull up that loop a little bit taller. Insert your hook into the double crochet from the previous row, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Chain 1. We'll be working a single crochet in between each cluster stitch in the chain 1 space. Skip the next cluster, insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and chain 1. Skip the next cluster, insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and chain 1. Repeat that to the end of the row. I have one more chain 1 space before the end of the row. Insert your hook and do a single crochet, chain 1. We have one cluster and a double crochet stitch left. This time we're going to work a single crochet in that last double crochet stitch of the previous row. That completes row 3. That's also the end of our 2-row repeat. You would just repeat rows 2 and 3 until you reach the desired height that you want. I'm going to take you through the next couple of rounds at a faster pace. Turn your work, and we'll put a standing double crochet stitch in that first single crochet from the previous row. We'll work a cluster stitch in that first chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip the next single crochet and work a cluster stitch into the chain 1 space. You'll repeat the pattern to the end of the row. Cluster stitch, chain 1, skip the single crochet, and work another cluster stitch in the next chain 1 space. Coming to the end of the row, we have a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. So we'll do a cluster stitch in the last chain 1 space. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, but do not do a chain 1. Instead, we're going to do a double crochet into that last single crochet stitch from the previous row. Tilt the work toward you so that you can see the top 2 loops of the single crochet stitch a little better. That completes row 4. Turn your work. Pull that loop up a little bit higher to reach the height of a regular single crochet. Single crochet in the first double crochet from the previous row. Chain 1, skip the cluster, and work a single crochet in the next chain 1 space. Chain 1. Repeat that pattern of skipping the cluster, working a single crochet in the chain 1 space, and chain 1 until the end of the row. There's one chain one space left, so do a single crochet, chain one, and you should have one cluster stitch and a double crochet left at the end of the row. We'll do a single crochet in that last double crochet stitch from the previous row. That completes round 5. Taking a closer look, you can see how nice and straight the edges are. There's no gap at the start and end of each row. Now I'll show you how to change colors. You'll start the new color in the last stitch of the previous row. First, I'll show you how to change colors for the cluster row. At the end of the previous single crochet row, insert your hook into the last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and instead of finishing the single crochet with the first color, we're going to add our second color. Just lay it over your hook and pull through the 2 loops. Turn your work and you'll crochet the next row as you normally would. If you want the new color to start on a single crochet row in the previous cluster row, you're going to start your last double crochet stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, but do not finish the stitch. Lay the new color over your hook and pull it through the last 2 loops. Turn your work and crochet the next row as you normally would. Changing colors does create a lot of tails that you'll need to sew in at the end, but it gives you a really nice effect if you're going to change colors every other row or every row, every 2 or 3 rows. Just play around with it and experiment and see what you like best. And because we crocheted into the back bump, you can see we have a nice finished edge in our starting chain as well as the last row. The cluster pattern is really one of my favorites because it's easy to do, it works up really fast, and it has a really nice look. It looks great in one solid color or using multiple colors to create a stripe pattern. Here's the wrong side of the work, which still has a very nice look. In this example, I change colors every 2 rows. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Please let me know in the comments what you plan to make with the cluster stitch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.